Hello, welcome to part 2 of the split grip tutorial.
The assumption is you've seen part 1 of the split grip tutorial, but just in case, let's watch very carefully as I review the details of this technique. First, face the pole squarely so that it bisects your body a little more than elbows distance away from you. Stand tall and on your toes. Place your hands on the pole with both arms straight. Make sure your elbow, wrist, and shoulders are aligned and your shoulders remain level. It should feel like you're squeezing your biceps into your pecs. You'll notice your bottom hand must release the index finger so that your wrist stays in alignment. Allow it to. If your elbow hyperextends, bend it slightly so that also remains aligned. Pull with your top arm, press with your bottom arm until your feet come off the ground. The effort comes from depressing your shoulders through the pecs and lats and long head of the triceps and long head of the biceps and other such muscles. Hold for as long as you can while maintaining form and balance. You may find that you need to pike a little bit, but contract your glutes and hamstrings to form a straight pencil position. When dismounting, do not collapse into the bottom arm. Release the bottom arm first or swing your body away from the pole and release both at the same time.
Let's assume for a second that you are having trouble with your split grip. Let's assume that you can't take your legs off the ground quite yet. Let us assume that you need easier variations. Well, I have just the answer.
Split grip is actually a very difficult technique. It takes a lot of strength and practice to master, so don't feel bad if you don't have it. It takes many people years to solidify. And I'm not making fun of you, I promise. This first variation is, in my opinion, the one with the most control. From a kneeling position, lift one leg and then the other, loading your arms as much as you can. Try switching which leg you lead with as you lift yourself into that deep squatted position. When you feel ready, you can also attempt to lift both legs at the same time. The second variation is putting your elbow against the pole, which gives you more pulling power with your upper arm. The third variation requires that you bend the bottom arm and prop your elbow just inside and alongside the front hip bone, correctly called the anterior superior iliac spine, if you cared. You will have to hunch your torso a little to achieve this, and while this technique does take the load off your bottom arm, be sure to keep the wrist engaged and aligned to protect your joints. Of course, you can combine these techniques by placing your upper elbow against the pole and bracing your bottom elbow against your hip/belly. I don't personally find this much easier than just one technique or the other, but some people have reported that they do. Another variation is turning your body into the lower arm. It is not that much easier than just facing the pole square, but it does relieve some of the burden. The last variation is, guess not. Yeah, that wasn't supposed to be there. There's this important little known concept that I harp on constantly in my clinic. It's called reciprocal inhibition. It means that the body will not fight itself. If I contract my bicep, my triceps will relax. If I contract my triceps, yes, I have very nice triceps, then my bicep will relax. Makes sense, right? Why would the body contract an opposing muscle to its intended motion? This matters because if one muscle is too strong, too tight, then the opposing muscle will be inhibited. Get it? Traditional practices stretch and relax the tight muscle, but the problem is actually in the weak antagonistic muscle. So why are we weakening the strong muscle instead of strengthening the weak muscle? Okay, too much and who cares, but now you know why I'm about to give you these exercises. The most often injured muscles in split grip are the flexors, which originate from the anterior hand to the medial elbow, or the wrist extensors, which originate from the posterior hand into the lateral elbow. Both can be causes of pain in the wrist and the elbow. The primary action of the flexors is to flex, and the primary action of the extensors is to extend. But on top of that, the flexors do pronate a bit, and the extensors also supinate just a little bit. So based on what we now know, the best exercise is to strengthen the wrist extensors, because usually the wrist extensors are the weak ones. So we're going to supinate the hand. Using a thera-band, we can create resistance as we wrist extend in that supinated position. This will reciprocally inhibit the flexors, which are usually the too tight, overtrained muscle. Of course, you'll want to train both sides, just like everything else. And on top of that, you honestly don't even need the thera-band. Just contracting the muscle alone is usually quite sufficient. The next exercise that I would highly recommend is just isolating the supinators alone. So wrap the thera-band around your hand and then go ahead and step on it just like before to create resistance, and then just turn your palm upwards against that resistance.
Once again, I hope this tutorial has helped you. Subscribe.